Hi everyone, I'm Hamza, the organizer of Azure Qatar community. Been working with my colleague Fatih and Fatma Tayyib, but she is not here, so I will be giving the introduction. So today we have the session on REST API authentication with engineers with Azure, and we have Kamalpreet Singh, who is 20 years of experience in .NET as software lead, tech lead, etc. He's been working with Qatar Airways, Ministry of Education in Qatar, and big tech companies, right? National Planning Council. National Planning. And he's right now he's working with National Planning Council as a application developer, right? Application. So today we got a session as API. Let's jump into it and give the floor to the Kamal, please.
Thank you very much for the introduction. First of all, good evening to everybody. So I have been working with Microsoft technology for the last 20 years and started from Visual Basic 6.0. The young people might not have heard the name as well. So Visual Basic 6.0, Classic ASP, these are the technologies back then. So before jumping into the REST API authentication, let me take 2-3 minutes just to introduce you how technologies progressed from last 20 years and we reached on this level today. So if I talk about 20 years back then we have majorly from Microsoft side, we have two things. One is Classic ASP and one is Visual Basic 6.0. VB 6.0 is for desktop application development and Classic ASP is web application development. So back then, APIs are only used in case you need to expose your data to somebody outside from your organization or project. For regular development, we don't need APIs. There's a UI ASP page. In same page, we are writing the HTML, same page, we are writing the backend code. And there is no concept of web API and nothing was there in year 2005. Then slowly we moved to .NET framework. It came with ASP.NET. It have organized the, separated the front-end code from C#. So C# is having a separate file and front-end is having a separate file. But basic concept remains same, no need of API. You write the HTML and you write the events in the C# and it will work without any extra headache. From MVC, APIs started getting some importance, right? Then we have, after 2013-14, we have Angular, React. So many front-end technologies came into the market, which are totally relying on API. So with third-party, why I'm calling third-party front-end technologies to Angular and React, because .NET is a backend, and React Angular, they are front-end. They are hosted on a different domain, API is hosted on different domain. In this case, two different domains are trying to interact with each other. In this case, API security become very, very important. Okay, so yeah, let me give you a little timeline for the API security, how it is evaluated in over the last 20 years. If you see year 2005 to 10, at that point of time we have web services, which are nowadays called SOAP services. So web services having XML based payload. Now it is JSON. That time it was XML based. So then security just relied on the basic authentication. For example, we are passing username password with the payload, and that username password is getting authenticated every time. There is no managed session from the server side. Every time you need to pass username and password, get authenticated and get take the data. So in this case, if you use the same method today, your API will be hacked very quickly using the brute force or this type of things, right? So now 2010 to 15, it was a rise of REST APIs and OAuth. So REST API started using JSON, and then OAuth emerged in 2012 as a standard for delegated authorization, enabling secure third-party access without sharing credential. So OAuth means the common example of OAuth is Microsoft 365 and Google. Okay, so Microsoft 365, we register our application on Azure and we get client ID, tenant ID, client secrets. We don't take end user's password. We just send the user to the Microsoft or Google, user authenticate himself on Microsoft or Google, user come back with the token, and we proceed further with the token. So, and one thing was API keys. People started using API keys in the header, which is again not that much robust, but for that time it was okay. Now 2015 to 2020, token-based security that we nowadays we call JWT web token, Java web token. Right? So those came into the picture. So those are stateless, and till date JWT is still used, right? And with this, we are able to implement more advanced features like rate limiting, throttling, IP filtering, everything. Now, 2020 onward, now it is cloud native as well as zero trust policy. So zero trust policy we will discuss further in this session as well. And zero trust architecture, that means never trust. I don't know you, I don't trust. I will not allow you inside my home, right? You don't know me, same thing you will apply. So same thing applies on the APIs. And integration with cloud identities, majorly Azure, AWS, Cognito, Google, all the clouds. Then role-based access came to the picture. API become critical to microservices and serverless architectures, increasing attack surface. So microservice architectures, serverless architectures, all relying on the API. So you can, in last past 20 years, from 0%, it is now 100%. Right? Now this is little bit about the future, how is going to take shape. Adoption of AI and ML for autonomy detection in API traffic. Then secure posture management tools like Microsoft Defender for AI. Okay. Microsoft have a Defender. It is available in the Windows as well, right? We have a Defender Cloud as well in Azure, which is helpful to safeguard our APIs from external attacks. Then we have DAST and SAST. DAST is dynamic website penetration testing, and SAST is static website penetration testing. So penetration testing become an integral part of our day-to-day activities. Now, next one is overview about the API security. So I have divided this into 4 major sections. First is the introduction to the API security. Then it's authentication and authorization. Azure security tools, building trustworthy applications. So the importance of API is there's only one target of implementing the API security, to safeguard our data, to safeguard our organization. That's the importance of our APIs. Authentication and authorization. Authenticating when somebody is successfully logged in, he is authenticated. After coming into the system, which activity he is authorized to do, making sure that this authorization is part of RBAC is part of authorization. Then security tools, we have Azure AD, Azure API Management Services. Then we have monitoring tools like App Insight and logging inside the Azure. Then building trustworthy applications. So all these points that I have explained, they are important in building the trustworthy application. So majorly, I have explained 4 different type of authentication methods. First one, as I explained, basic authentication, right? So which was used back in the ages. So it is simple credential-based authentication. Credentials are either sent in the header or in the request body. So with every request, the credentials are getting authenticated. Username, password is getting matched. If it is matching, user will get the access. Then API key. API key is a unique identifier given to each client for identification and authorization. Here you get an example. Let's say you've taken a subscription of Twilio. you want to implement the messaging, right? SMS. When you get any third-party association, people provide you API key, client key. Okay, those are the API key, client key. API key is sent through HTTP header, query parameter, or request body. Then this lack advanced security feature. That's why they are only good for internal API or simple applications. Like once your API key is compromised, then your access is gone, right? So API key is once assigned to you, it remains same until you're using the application. So that's why they are vulnerable for outside attacks. And now this is one of the major shortcomings in the API key. I am using Twilio, or let's say I have created one API for my internal application, and I have given one API key for authentication. Application team implemented it. Okay, front end team. So now I will, from API side, I will not be able to identify which user have sent which request because there's a single API key. All users are sending requests with same API key, right? So this is one of the major shortcoming. Individual user can't be identified as a API key is issued to each client. So
is there a way to like fix this outcoming?
Yes. So now I will discuss about these API keys in next slides as well. Yeah. So OAuth framework, OAuth 2.0. When we talk OAuth, OAuth is not only for Microsoft. OAuth works with every cloud provider, be it Microsoft, Azure Web Services, Google, or any cloud. So we have a delegated access without sharing the credentials. Now, when you implement OAuth, let's say I implemented Azure Active Directory. Nowadays, it is called as Azure Entra ID. So when I implement the Azure Active Directory, for login, my user is getting redirected to the Office 365. User will enter the username password in Office 365 based on the organization security policy. If organization have enabled the multi-factor authentication, Microsoft will ask for the MFA, and once everything is successful, Microsoft will return back to my application with access token. How all this activity works actually? What it do? We have Azure. In Azure, we have Microsoft Entra ID, which previously it was called Active Directory. So in Entra ID, we have registered our application, and we have provided the callback URL as well. And we got client ID, client secret, and tenant ID from Azure. So based on these three keys, we are sending the request to the Azure, and based on these credentials only, Azure will return the user back to my return back URL. Now JWT. So next one is based on web app, mobile app, or server-to-server communication with the help of different grant types like authorization code, client credential, and password grant based on the each application type. So we can implement different type of grant types in OAuth as well. For example, authorization code. Okay, once successful, it is just sending the one authorization code to me, and based on that, I am proceeding further. Secure and scalable. Now, from security point of view, for example, my API is compromised. When review happened.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you also use the microphone?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Where we are scalable. Yeah. So let's say your APIs, one of your user have compromised his identity, right? So when a review happened and people check the log, okay, this is the user who have compromised. So with this, they got a full control. They can go to the Azure, they can disable that user, and lost access is gone. Okay, which was not a case in the previous options. And finally, JWT, JSON Web Token, JWT Web Tokens. We commonly we call it JWT. JWT is a lightweight token formed lightweight token former used to securely transmit information between parties as a JSON object. After login, server issues a JWT to the client, which is then sent with each request to access the resource. Uh, I have, after logging in, I can associate this with OAuth as well. So let's say I authenticated user from uh, Azure Active Directory. I got a token from Azure side, but I don't want to give the same token to the Angular, right? What I will do, I will just take the data from the token, whatever the information I want to share. I may get 100 fields from Active Directory, but I only want to give 5 or 6 fields to the front end. So whatever data I want to share, I will take it. I will create a JWT web token and add the claims for those values. For example, username, its email ID, what is the role of the user, what is the designation, what is the department, whatever data I want to share. So I will create a JWT token and send it back to the requester. So then requester will send that JWT token with every request in the header as authorization. Now every JWT token comes with expiry, which is automatically validated by the API web server. So let's say I put an expiry for 2 hours, and with JWT token, I sent a refresh token as well, which is not shared with anybody. Front-end technology keeps a refresh token with them. Okay, they keep checking the validity of the JWT token. Let's say it is about to expire in next 5 minutes. They will send the refresh token and regenerate a new JWT token. This way, end user don't need to re-login or re-authorize. End user will not get any idea that his access is, extended for another 2 hours, right? So now there is one component in the JWT token is a issuer. For example, my application is abc.com. So I put a issuer as abc.com. Okay, when I will receive that JWT token, I can validate that who is the issuer of this token. If issuer is not matching with my issuer, I will reject the request. Okay.
They are working from the front end side? Or?
Yes. Yes. So
For the JWT token renewal, does the front end side need to do anything?
front end side, end user don't need to do anything basically. Okay, so it is your front end technology which will pass the JWT refresh token to the API, and it will get a new token based on that.
So, based on a library or something?
No, not a library. It is just like, normally in .NET, we write a custom API for that. Okay, but with Azure, it might be possible. I have never tried with Azure. Yeah. Now, this part almost I explained in last slide only. So OAuth and Azure integration. Here, Azure have Active Directory, which is now Microsoft 365, and it is called Entra ID. Okay, so Entra ID acts as a authentication server and help authenticating and authorizing the user in Azure with the help of SSO. So in OAuth, we needs one authentication server. So we don't need to set up our own authentication server. Azure acts as our authentication server in this case. Now XX token and refresh token. In this case, in case we are using token provided by the AD. Okay, refresh token, access token is issued by the Azure AD or the Azure Entra ID, which is having a short lifespan based on the configuration. Refresh token is used to get updated access token with new validity without reauthorizing the user. Now here, when we talk about Azure, they have Microsoft Graph APIs, which we are using to do all these activities. In those, getting a new access token is already available. Now, app registration. So when I want to give my Active Directory access to anybody, it is in my hands. I am a owner of my organization. I am owner of my Active Directory. So in this case, I will decide that to whom I want to give the access. Like you are building some application for me, you want to, authenticate the user on my AD. So I will register your application inside my Azure. I will provide you the client ID, client secret, and the tenant ID, and then you will use them to complete the authentication process. In this case, being a owner of the Active Directory, being a owner of the organization, I have a authority and for your activities. If there is anything wrong happen, any malicious things is happening from your side, I can just disable the application from Azure directly, and your access is gone. Now, scopes and permissions. Now, when we register any app, let me give you example for the scopes. A few years back, like maybe 5-10 years back, when we have Active Directory, on-premises Active Directory, normally to send the emails from programmatically from C# or any programming language, we were using SMTP. SMTP needs sender email ID and sender email password. But now the things change with the Entra ID. We are using Microsoft Graph. It is a REST API by Microsoft. We register our application in the Azure. While registering the application, we give them scopes and permissions. For example, I want to implement the email sending feature from one of my web view screen. So for that application which I have registered with the Azure for this particular activity, I will give him two permissions, mail.send and mail.read. So that application will not be able to do anything. It will not be able to fetch the user details. It will not be able to fetch my Active Directory details. If I have given scope to access my Active Directory details, then user will be able to access it. It all depends on me on how I want to configure the permissions. Now, last, as I already told, that in this IT operations team have full access. So they can disable your access anytime. They don't need to rely on the application. Okay, some attack is happening, stop it. No, something is happening, they will just disable it from their side. Okay, everything will stop immediately. And any question for this?
Do they have permission to see my password through the
No. Through this OAuth, nobody can see your password. Oh, so far, we are talking about the web APIs. So when we complete the web APIs, we can choose any type of authentication method that we have discussed so far. Let's take example. I implemented OAuth with Azure. Okay, so I have deployed my application either on premises or cloud anywhere, on cloud or in Azure App Services. Okay, in this case, my authentication is happening on Microsoft 365. Then my app service, which is deployed in the Azure, it is processing everything, and user is getting the access. Now, for enhanced security, we have a API management services in Azure. So which is actually a gateway to your API. So what API, how API management services works actually? App service, when we talk about app service or your on-premises server, we are talking about Azure today, so I will not go to on-premises. So in app service, you publish your project, you deploy your project on the app service, and you share it with the end user. So end user have a direct access to the application, your actual application code which you have deployed, right? But this API management service, it works as a one layer above the app service. and it act as a gateway to your application. So in this case, what we do, we configure our app service and we configure our API management service separately. In API management service, we can divide them into the different set of APIs. Now you guys have heard about the microservices, right? So the microservices in common scenario, what we understand is, let's say I have three modules: sales, purchase, and production, or sales, purchase, and HR. I will create three different instances and share with the user, right? In this case, I have three endpoints. One is sale API.abc.com, purchase API.abc, HR.abc. But this resolves that issue. So we can create the three different instances, one for sale, one for purchase, one for HR module. But for end user who is consuming the API, this URL will be single. That is API management service URL. So inside the API management service, you can create the different set of APIs. One group is for purchase, one is for sale, one is for HR, and each one is referring to different app service. Okay, each one is referring to relevant app service, and the URL will be, for example, myapi.azureapi.net/purchase/product/get, something like that. So now take example, something happened with your HR module that is down, but still your purchase and sales module is up and running just because of this. Okay. Now we have a developer portal. Developer portal helps us to configure all these things inside the Azure, and it gives us full control when and how to block somebody's access at any time, and obviously that app inside logging as well. Now we have a policy engine. Policy engine means, I will explain all these things in coming slides. So policy engine means uh, like rate limiting, IP filtering, caching, transformation from XML to JSON. All this can be done without writing any code. In normal scenario, if I want to transfer my XML to JSON, I need to write a C# code and get it done. But here I can do using the API management service. Rate limiting somebody how many requests he can send. Then IP filtering, everything can be done from here only. Now, next is security and access control. So now it uh, supports everything like Azure Active Directory, OAuth, subscription key, and for each user, which user can access which API. So apart from your application, your actual C# or coding, you can implement that same thing here. And analytics and monitoring, that is Azure monitoring, like app services or all the logging tools that Azure have. Yes.
Yes, to understand this layer of management, API management, I just need to understand it. يعني, as a development part, I will create the API in whatever language, .NET or whatever, and without considering the access rules and all this stuff, I will just like a public API, and I will deploy it in app service in Azure, and I will make it like private or something. It will not be public. After this, as you see, we will create like a layer, management layer on top of this. And inside it, without programming, without anything, I can define the users, I can define the rules according to my existing endpoints, right?
So to answer your question, you can go through this diagram. So this diagram is actually what you just explained. Yeah. So this is my app service. This is a place where my actual API is deployed. Whatever the API I have created, be it .NET, Java, or any other language. Okay, so it is deployed at this place, and this is my API management service. So what is there? This app service is having a private connection. It is not accessible from public. It is only accessible from API management service. And to authenticate, it is using SSO to authenticate app service. But here it is using subscription key. So what is this? subscription key. So subscription key is additional layer of security apart from your regular authentication. Inside API management service, we can define the subscription key for each client, each application, each user, however we want to do. Okay, so what it happen is whenever user is reaching on API management service, it will validate your subscription key first. Is it valid or not? If it is valid, you are allowed to access this particular API or not. So that means your user is still at this level. It is not reached on your actual code. So from here only, Azure will return back the user in case user is not authorized to access the particular API. I hope this clear your out. So here, this is how the structure works between app service and API management service. So now Web API is deployed on the app service. Web API will verify the SSO with access token or JWT token, however you want to implement the authorization. Then RBAC can be implemented on. So first, RBAC means role-based access control. So first, we have a RBAC at this level. It is making sure that the particular subscription key that is trying to access the API, that person is having the permission to access this API or not. Further, you can implement your own RBAC inside the Web API as well. So API management service can be created. Separate set of APIs can be created for each module in the APIM. So Azure APIM to authenticate user, we can use subscription key, and API level scope permission can be configured on the API management level only. Scope permission, when I mention this word, that means RBAC or which API or which part you can access. Then we have a private connection between app service and API management. App service is private, it is not accessible to anybody. API management service is accessible. So by this, when you share your API management service endpoint, that endpoint is actually not referring directly to your actual code or published version. So it is actually a upper layer on the top of your API. It don't have any code inside that. It receives a request, it validates the subscription key, it validates that this user is allowed to access, and it pass on the same request to the app service privately without exposing it to public. Any question for this?
And the second is that at what level can we implement the policies, etc.? Is it at the API level or like rate limit, throttling, etc.? At what level can we implement?
So first of all, there is no latency. Second thing, the policies, whatever we just discussed in the previous slide, I will cover up in next couple of slides. Okay, so this is just a description I given for the subscription key. So subscription key basically works like I explained in the last slide. It is working as a gatekeeper on API management level. It is just making sure that this subscription key is valid. This key is allowed to access requested API or not. Then usage tracking and analytics. While creating the API management service, we can enable the app insights and logging. With the help of that, we can get detailed logging from the Azure itself. So in this case, the biggest headache for all the development teams is maintaining the logs, right? So we implement the log on different level. We implement the error logging. We implement the general logging, which we call audit log, right? So who have which person accessed which API. So API management service is doing this for us using the app insight. So whoever is accessing my API, that is logged in the app insight inside the Azure. Whatever error is happening in my application, that is also logged inside the app insight, but in my app service, because actual code is on my app service side. So app service has its own app insight. So that will keep tracking what error happened in your actual code, whatever the problem happened there. Then rate limiting. we can implement the rate limiting on the subscription key inside the API management service. Okay, so in this, everything is part of this, like doing the IP filtering, doing the rate limiting, and implementing the scopes are back. Then environment separation. So we don't need to create 1, 2, 3, 4 different environments. Under the one APIM, we can enable that dev and production separately from the one place only. Then revocation and rotation. That means if one subscription key is creating problem for us, so to stop that, we don't need to go through thorough process. It is just simply going to the API management service, go to the subscription keys, find the key and disable it. It will stop immediately. So this is a little example I have given you. To configure the subscription key, there are two ways. One is using the Azure portal, or if you want to implement in your user creation process, or let's say whenever we write any API. For example, I have 1,000 employees in my organization. Everybody is not going to access that application. Out of 1,200 people have access to the application. So I will give access to 200 people only. So I want to create a subscription key for each user, separate subscription key. So we can use the Azure libraries. You can see on the top. Azure NuGet packages are available. Using that, we can configure the subscription key. Here you can see this. These are the scopes. Now I am limiting this user to only subscribe products / unlimited API. Okay. Any other API, yes, this subscription key can't access it. And same, it always create one primary key and one secondary key. So basically, mainly we use primary key only, but secondary key can be used as an alternative. So this all activity we can do from the Azure portal as well. This is a small example of how we are configuring the API management service. Here, if you can see, I have created a resource, which is API management service on the top. Then inside the APIs, I have created 3 different APIs. One is customer API, one is product API, and one is metrics. Okay. So inside customer, I have these set of APIs. Create a new customer, retrieve a customer, and this is actually what it is doing. We don't have any code here. When we are configuring this API, we need to inside the setting it is actually. I forgot to take that screenshot. Inside settings, we need to provide that which app service and which API it is gonna call. If that API, that particular API need any specific header parameters, that also we can pass in the same place. And finally, we have a test as well. So from here, we can test our API that it is able to connect with the app service or not. And these are the subscription keys. So 2 slides back, I have shown you the C# code, right? This is the same thing in the Azure. So this is only viable in case you want to issue the subscription key per client. In per client case, you don't need to create subscription key separately for each user. You're just creating for one client. One client, this client is authorized to access this much data. This is your key, right? But in case my business requirement is that I am creating for one, you can say one major project for my organization, and I need for each user, I need this control with me. Then I can either implement, do it manual hard work, or I can do through the C# code as well. With C# code, we can add an additional security layer as well. Now, if here we are creating the keys, it will be created here, but if we want to map them with the user inside my application, I need to do a separate activity. But if I'm doing it through programming, once subscription key is created, I can immediately map it with the user, which user is going to use this subscription key. Now, let's say somebody is trying to play smart. I have used my login and I have passed his subscription key. So in this case, I can implement a additional step in my code behind. Okay, this is a subscription key, this is a user. Is this key belongs to the same user or not? Okay, that type of implementation I can do inside the APIs. Here you can see I have the scope, which APIs I want to give. I want to give all APIs, I want to give product, and whatever APIs I want to give access to. So API management service will automatically do the first layer of filtration for you. So when user is reaching here, it is getting filtered out based on the key. If key is successfully filtered, then it is verifying the scope as well. If this user is allowed to access this API or not, then my backend logic comes into the picture. So you can say first level of filtering is done by the by this only. That's why subscription key is called as a gatekeeper. So any question for so far?
For the subscription key, is it something like an ID permanent, or does it change for time?
It is permanent. So it is up to us if we want to change it. Yeah.
One more question for the API manager. Is it hosted on the same server as the backend, or all options?
It is a managed services by Microsoft. So hosting, Microsoft is managing, but it is hosted under your subscription. Okay. So when we are using the Azure, first what we do, we create a subscription. Okay. Under the subscription, I will link our credit card. They charge so much money. So we link our credit card, and whatever you are creating under your subscription, it is limited to you only. Anybody who is not authorized to use a subscription, he cannot access your resources. And there are two type of things in Azure. One is managed, one is unmanaged. Managed means Microsoft is responsible for infrastructure, for servers and everything. We are just getting a UI. From UI, we are configuring everything. It is Microsoft's responsibility to give me 99.9% uptime guarantee that they're giving, right? But in unmanaged services, what I do, I create a virtual machine on the Azure. They provide me the Windows machine. After that, they are not responsible. They are only responsible to keep Windows machine online. That's it. They will provide me Windows Server license with that virtual machine. They will make sure that Windows machine is always online. What I am doing inside that Windows machine, that is my responsibility in that case. Yes, yes. Infrastructure as a service or product as a service. So
The domain or subscription, how can I access the API? And if I make the app service public, he can access if I will use like token or something. But now with API management, you are saying they should be in our subscription, like in our domain.
see, when we are configuring any resource on the Azure, it is in our hand we want to make it public or not. So
in this case, we take a decision. The API, the app service will be in private, but the app management, the API management layer will be public.
yes, it will be public.
Okay, but how can I give access to external users?
See, first of all, your API management service is public, right? Whatever the domain you have mapped with it, it should be publicly available. It will be publicly available. Then to give access, it is always product owners' internal policies. They want to give access based on subscription key. Let's say you have a let's take example of Twilio. Twilio is a online platform to send SMS programmatically, right? So Twilio, I want to access Twilio services. I will purchase the license. I will purchase a subscription, and they will generate a key for me and give it to me. This is your key. The client ID, client secret, everything they will provide to me. So with the help of these two things, I can access their APIs. But if I don't have the keys, I have only the URL, I cannot do anything. I will get 401 authorization failed. Yes, we can do this. This is what you ask. So now rate limiting and throttling. So rate limiting, many of you guys might have heard that normally what these hackers, they attempt denial of service attack. What is denial of service? I have a API or application. Somebody written a program, small loop he have written. He have put, okay, this loop should run 1 million times. And he will keep calling my API back to back, back to back. With this, he will create a traffic on my infrastructure, and it will help him to put my application down. Okay, so this part is helpful in managing that thing. So with Azure or any type of cloud service, these things become too easy for us. So now here, now we have different type of configuration like policy based. Rate limiting can be implemented in Azure API based on inbound policy, for example, restricting a particular subscription key or IP address. Policy based means only one subscription key is creating a problem, or particular IP addresses are creating problem. We will just put this policy on them, and we can just stop the inbound access for them. Then we have a quota based. Let's say we have a restricted API to have 500 or 1000 calls a day. Okay, for your subscription, let's say the plan that you have purchased, you can make maximum 500 calls a day. I can set this in API management service. You have purchased a maybe premium plan. You can make 1500 calls a day, 1500 calls a day. So I can set the rate limiting based on that. Even per minute. Even we can have a per minute quota, like 10 calls per minute. These things are normally used for two purposes. One is maintaining the different subscription levels for different customers. Number two, stopping denial of access attack. So if we are getting excessive calls on one API, maybe we got 50,000 calls in last 30 minutes. That means somebody is trying to attempt attack on me. So I will just limit it to 1000 calls per hour, and it will stop that activity. Now this is customizable for each API or a product. So when I say product here is, you remember in the screenshot where we are configuring the APIs, we have 3 products: purchase, matrix, and one more. Okay, we can set this do this implementation for each product or each API as well on API management level. But in case we need to do this without APIM, this is a lengthy activity. We need good amount of time and resources for that. Like, I am not a network guy. I can do this in Azure, but I can't do manually inside my server. So any question about the last slide? So this part I have explained with different slides, but still I will repeat this. JWT token. So now JWT token are used for authentication and authorization. After successful login, we create an encrypted token, which is called a JWT token. Every token have claims. Claims is basically user data. What is the username? What is the email ID? And what is his department, role, designation? All important data that I need to run my project. And it is having expiry. So expiry, like it is having 5 hours expiry, 24 hours, 48 hours expiry. Most of the times APIs which are used in mobile app, we try to keep expiry a little bit longer, like 24 hours, 30 hours. And mobile app keep validating the expiry in backend, and it will, if they want to, for example, this Instagram, it is always logged in. We even if we are opening it after 1 month, you will find it logged in. So they just keep refreshing the authentication. Then claim verification. So JWT carry claims, uh, which can be when from your code behind, you can read the claims, and based on the claim values, you can modify your APIs. Like I am from IT department, my position is maybe software engineer. I am able to access up to this level of data. I can only see my data. I'm a senior software engineer. I can see, let's say, my data or people who are directly associated with me. Somebody is a head of the department. He or she can access the data for all their subordinates. Then expiration. So expiration, we don't need to do anything for this. When we are creating the JWT, we will just set the expiry date or time for the token. And whenever request is coming to the server will automatically validate the expiry. And if it is expired, it will deny the request 401. So secure API access. In Azure API management, JWT validation policy helps enforce security by rejecting requests with invalid or expired tokens before they reach backend service. So we can apply this security inside the API management service. Before even user reached my app service where my actual project is deployed, API management service is just rejecting and sending it back from their level only. And refresh token, as I explained before, refresh token is used to keep refreshing my JWT token if it is expired. User don't need to go and reauthorize them again and again. Any question?
What happens, for example, if the app is off for like a month, the JWT token is disabled? Does the user have to log in again, or
These type of things depends on your logic. Let's say you have some social media app. You don't want to bother user to log in again and again. They will just keep refreshing the token by themselves. But if you have a company application, let's say I have ERP. If user is not accessing the ERP for like 1 week, 10 days, whatever the time, I don't want to reauthorize the user automatically. I want user to come and enter the username password again. So it all depends on me, how I want to implement this. Okay. You mean that we've done a force stop for the application? In that case, obviously, if token is expired, it will again ask for the authentication.
Regarding JWT tokens and maybe applicable to OAuth as well. Like because this all the security relies on the tokens, right? And if by any means if I get hold of your token, can I use to log in on your behalf? And if yes, then how we stop it?
See, if by somehow you get access to my token, first is there are few policies that we need to keep in mind. Token should always be short life token. Like we are having a web application, token is created, it is created for 1 hour. It will keep refreshing after every 1 hour. So if you have my token, you can call the API. You cannot log in. You can call the API if you know how to call the API. Then you can call the API to get the data, right? But you cannot log into my account. For example, I am using Azure Entra ID. So I have not created a JWT, manual JWT. I just use the same token. You got that token. You cannot go to my Office 365 account. That you cannot do.
Let's say an example of social media app, and I get hold of your JWT token and I replace it in my app,
Hmm.
my device. So I can see your account, right? I can make post on your
Yeah, you can make until that token is not expired. Yeah.
securers.
See, for that API management service come into picture. We have multi-layer of authentication. First, API management service is authenticating my key. Then it is going to the app service, and application is authenticating me. Secondly,
uh, defense in depth, right? You shouldn't give the opportunity to the attacker to capture this token in an easy way. So you need to protect your system in different layers of defense system. For example, where this token is moving from where to where, right? Client to server. How to protect this transportation layer. So you need to use HTTPS to encrypt and decrypt the network traffic between the client and the server to protect those tokens to captured by a man in the middle attack, right? That's one way. So you need to protect the client side also. So of course there's a limitation. There's no 100% security. We all know that. Of course, there will be an opportunity to an attacker to attack your system. We need to accept this one, but we need to do our best to protect our system. What can you do on the client side, right? Is client is under your control or not? If it's not your under control, so you need to do all of the checks also on the server side. So whatever you accept from the client, you need to do another check, another sanity check. If this data is clean, if it's coming from a secure source, maybe you can do a whitelisting, right? You need to tell that on the server side, you can say that I will only accept the request from those IP blocks, or I will only accept the request from those countries, right? These are my target countries. I will not accept the request from, let's say, US or China, wherever, right? So you should always think at different defense layers. If one layer breached, what other layers do you have to protect your system, to your backend system?
yeah, that is somehow vulnerable as well. Like he put a point, right? If somebody got access to your subscription key that don't have an expiry, user got access, and we don't know this. So that's why we API management is helping us to put security layers on different stages. First is gatekeeper, then our web API, and apart from that, like Fatih explained, we can limit the geography, we can limit the IPs, all those things.
Subscription key is different than the authentication key, right? First, he needs to be authenticated. Then he is a separate key for the authentication. But subscription key is the key where or which APIs or which products that he can access. It's like an authorization. It's not an authentication. Also authentication, you need to authenticate yourself.
Subscription that is only a gatekeeper. It will only make sure that okay, you pass the subscription key, you are allowed to access this API management service instance. Which API you are trying to access, you are allowed to access this API or not. It is not identifying, actually it is not identifying you as an individual. Okay, so it only identify you as an individual if we have a architecture defined like this. Like my application, I am creating a separate key for each user. I have mapped that key with the user in the backend. Okay, Kamalpreet having this, Fatih having this, somebody having this, right? But still, there is a vulnerability if we're only using subscription key is it don't have expiry. You will only be able to safeguard yourself if you notice something wrong is happening. By the time you don't notice, person can keep using it as long as possible. And authentication is happening on the still on the app service layer. This APIM is protecting my app service for a direct attack. Okay, so before sending any user to the app service, it is making sure that the subscription key given to me is valid, is having the access, it is following all the policies defined. Okay, so if all these hurdles are passed, only the user is reaching the API. Even you have login API, right? Most of the time, login API is anonymous, right? You just pass the login credentials, you log in. If it is manual login, let's say, let's take example, we are logging in with the username password, getting a JWT token. So if that is the case, login API is always anonymous. But in this case, login API is also protected. To reach login API, we need to pass the subscription key first. If that is passed, only then user will reach the login API.
Can we say that these subscription keys on API level are primarily for client verification? So let's say that my app is authenticated on API level, not the user per se. The
So
front
there's
end.
similar functionality as OAuth 2.0.
No, little different than OAuth. Because see, OAuth 2.0, it holds, OAuth is able to authenticate on any of the cloud provider, right? OAuth can authenticate on Azure, Amazon. No, principle wise different as well. Because see, subscription key have only two things in Azure. One is key name and key value. Okay, so it don't have the full data that you have, right? So, for example, we have some functionality in our system where we want to make sure that this designation or this department can access this data. This cannot we cannot achieve using the subscription key. Second thing, OAuth authentication that will expire once token is gone. So, but this will never expire. This is making sure that no unauthorized person reaches your API directly. Yeah.
Workflow is work like this. So your client application will try to access the API server, API backend, right? So it will make first request, but it doesn't have a token to access this. There's no authentication token in that request. So what this API management will do is we will ask the client to go to the token provider, go bring me an authentication token. I will not accept you unless you bring this authentication token, right? I will not get you in. So the client will go to Entra. Okay, Entra, then he will authenticate, he will get the token, bearer token, and then he will go back to your API management. Then API management will check, does this have a bearer token, authentication token? Yes, he has. He's authenticated. And the same client application has also configuration, which includes the subscription key. This subscription key shows which products or which APIs this client application can access. So it's like an authorization, right? Or shows the limits. That's how it works, basically. Am I correct?
Let's give an example of Azure. Okay. When we call ourselves that I am architecting a cloud application, it have different roles. First role is application, second role is infrastructure team, third role is security team. So being a part of application team, I have access to create app services, configure my API management services, configure my function apps, and all the programming stuff, right? But infrastructure guy, he can manage the network connection between the different parties. Okay, so now here or security info security team, they can manage the security part of inside the uh, Azure. So here, what happen is if I have only one authentication, that is subscription key, that is given to my organization. In that case, me, you, everybody is able to do everything. You have access to my resources. You are doing everything what I am doing, and I am doing whatever you are doing. So subscription key just give you authority that okay, you are a valid customer. You are allowed to come in. Now you reached. Now authenticate your identity, right? Then you authenticate your identity. Then next step comes into the picture that okay, this person can access this, that person can access that.
The back end. Now I will not be logging to Azure as a human, as logging go to login page and open it. No, from back end as a server, I will consume this API. So I will not go to Azure to log in or something to get this key. How can we do it? How can we go to and talk to the provider and take the authentication token directly?
See, the provider need to complete the steps. Being a consumer, you are not going to Azure, but the provider have to complete the steps. For example, my application, it's a whatever product it is. So you came to me, you want to use a software as a service. Okay, so we have a contract. All the things are done. That happened back in the back end. So then to give you the access, what I will do, okay, this is your subscription key. Okay, now with this subscription key, you can access my services. All the products are mapped with your key. This person is allowed to access this service from my portal. Once that is done, and you got a one admin account, let's say, which is having all the permissions, right? Then you taken your more accounts. Let you configure your Active Directory inside that. You enter all the keys, everything you added in the my application, and then you started configuring your users and user who are going to work on the application. User one have access to five five features. User two have access to seven features. User three have access to 10 features. So obviously, provider have to go and create the key and provide it. There are two ways to do this. One is Azure portal, or one, if I have a backend application available, I can implement the C# code and create the keys dynamically using the C#. Yeah, that there are two ways. So this picture is just for reference. This is not a this is Azure picture only, but just for reference. So now all the Azure services, be it APIM, app service, function app, logic app, whatever service we are using on Azure, when we are configuring the service, at that point of time, we have an option to enable the logging. Even after configuration, we can go to setting and enable the logging. Let's say initially I have not enabled it, but after that I can go and enable it. So that logging is mainly app insight. App insight, what it do, whatever activity is happening on my that resource, it will keep tracking and keep logging the all the activities which are further used for verifying the things on my resources. Let's say somebody we have a logging enabled for APIM. What it will do, it will just check that okay, this user try to access this API with this subscription key, and he was not authorized, and server send him 401 request, 401 response. Same way, user B, he tried to access with this subscription key, and he is authenticated. He is allowed to access this product or scope, and he is allowed to go further to the API app service. So API management logging role ends on this level. Then my app service comes into picture. So I have a logging on app service as well. The biggest problem for application teams is maintaining the accurate logs. Whenever we are programming any application, biggest problem that even I have faced in my career is having 100% logging available. Okay, so for that we use nlog and thousand type of things. I have 10 developers working in my team. One developer is lazy. He just said forget it. My code is okay. I'm not gonna implement the try catch. He just left it. So whatever problem is happening because of his code, that is not logged anywhere. But in Azure app inside will log that as well. Whatever problem is happening in your code, in your throughout the application will be logged. So that can be seen inside the resource. For example, you want to see app service logging, you will go to the app services, select the particular app service. In the left menu, you will get the app insight option. App insight will give you the first of all dashboard like this. All you can say idea you will get from the dashboard. How many requests I received in last 24 hours, 48 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours. So what based on the search parameter. Yes. So logging is just like any other logging, nothing special in this. Now this Azure Key Vault, this is actually not a part of API security, but still a very important part for all the programmers. So the common question that we listen from programmers is how to safeguard my app setting.json. If you are a .NET guy, you know that .NET configurations are in app setting file. Okay, so that app setting file is used to save the multiple type of settings. By default, when you create a project have its own default settings that are added there, connection strings, then you are consuming some third party product, its subscription keys, client secret, everything is saved in the app setting. Now the problem is if somebody is able to hack your subscription, somebody is able to hack your things, he will just go, he will open the app setting, he will get everything. Now this key vault is that type of feature in Azure which is helping to safeguard that part as well. So key vault is, as you can see in this screenshot, I have created this one key vault resource. Then I went to the secrets. I have added different secrets here. My Twilio client ID, let's say my SQL connection string, my Oracle connection string, everything I added there, value is saved inside this. Okay. Now, what I can do, I can set the permissions for Key Vault. From organization, most of the time, the development team don't have access to the production resources. Even solution architect don't have a direct access to the production, right? So infra team have the access. So we can configure the permission inside the Azure, which person can view these key vaults and who cannot view this key vault. How to use inside the .NET or any other project. So in .NET, the best alternative for app setting is the environment variables. So environment variables can be created inside the Windows. If you have a Windows server, you can create the Windows environment variables. And if you are using Azure, you can create the environment variable under your app services. So environment variable is just like a simple variable, my SQL connection string value, Twilio client ID value. Then you can say Azure app registration client ID value, Azure client secret value, like this. If somebody have a access to the app service resource, he can go and see them from even from app service environment variable. What we do, we create key vaults, we create secrets, and this is a command inside the app service environment variable. Instead of giving the value, we just give this command. We give the key name here, your key vault name. Then we have a secret name here. Key vault name is this lgb-secrets, and the secret name is this another secret. Okay, so this command, what it will do, this command will whenever you try to access this environment variable inside your backend C# code, so this command will give you the value saved against this secret. But you cannot go to Azure and see this secret. Okay, so this question actually came couple of sessions back by somebody. He was just asking how to safeguard our app settings. So that's why I just added this additional slide for especially for this. So I think I don't need to read all this because I have already explained. This is the last one. Yeah.
Is that right?
Hmm?
Is that right?
Oh.
Move
Then
fast.
need to complete quickly.
Fast.
Okay, so as I explained, these are secure and manage access. You can give access to anybody. You can block anybody from watching these. We can rotate the keys and their expiry. They are easy to implement. We don't need to expose the value. We can sys command, provide the app key vault and get it done. Okay. So, and simple summary is that we have gone through the importance of security, Azure security tools, best practices as per my experience. I am not saying that this is the end of the world. There might be somebody who can suggest something better, and I am able to accept that. Then, security first approach. One thing I just take 1 more minute is that zero trust policy. So zero trust means like at our home, if some unknown person is coming, I'm not letting him in directly. I just stop him on the gate. I talk with him. I see that if I should allow him or not, right? Same need to be the best principle for your programming. When you are doing any programming, always implement zero trust policy. Whatever user is coming, he don't have any access, zero access to the user. Then give him the access. He can access out of 50 services, he can access 5. Then he will only access those. Somebody is uploading a file to your application, do the whitelisting. You can only accept I am only accepting PDF, JPG, DOCS, XLSX. Apart from that, any other extension is coming, I am just rejecting the file. So this is called zero trust policy. So these are some references. I will share this with Fatih. These are references for API management from learn.microsoft.com. I will share with Fatih. He will share in the group as well. This is my LinkedIn account. Yes. Okay, what are the scopes in API management service?
Whoever gives answer, we will have the swags for them if they give the correct answer.
Okay, let's